June, it's hot out, and we're just getting started. But this is a lot of watch to go over today, so excuse the tardiness. If you've been waiting a little minute, then it's going to be worth the wait for sure. My name is Abingdon, and you are at the Abingdon Co channel. Here on YouTube, we are live today, and what we do is we make adventurous watches for adventurous women. And I'm going to go over one of our most popular and one of my personal favorite watches. It's called the Katherine watch. It's a pilot watch. It has something incredibly unique. I'm going to tell you how we came up with this, where I was when this whole idea was born of putting a very, very different type of chapter ring that's never before been put on a watch. And if you don't know what a chapter ring is, I'll go over all that kind of stuff. But if you've just come to this channel for the first time, you are at the channel where we talk about watches, we talk about women doing adventurous things, being badasses, because this whole company is for women that are living life to the extreme. We're talking about pilots, women in the military, scuba divers, race car drivers, adrenaline junkies, people that live in time zones, not zip codes. So we are all about empowering women, showing them that you can do, you can do anything that you want to do. And we just like to encourage women to just go out and just be the badass women that they are. And it doesn't matter what your adventure is. It could be raising kids, it could be collecting watches, it could be doing whatever you want to do. So because we're live, I'm going to be taking comments. I kind of have all the little comments set up right over here. So if you see me looking down this way, that's what I'm checking. And then we'll go over some of the details of the Katherine watch. So before I kind of get into the close-up, the Katherine watch is our, let's see, Amelia was first, Jackie was also first because Amelia and Jackie came out at the beginning. And I'll link videos. I know we've done one of Amelia, so I'll link that video above after this loads up so you can check out that one. Elise was our next one, which is a travel watch, and then we came out with Katherine. So Katherine came out, I want to say it was right around 2000. Let's see, we were starting to get into dive watches too. So I want to say it was around 2014. You have to check the Kickstarter that we did when we did the Marina. But Marina and Katherine came out the same year. And Katherine, because a lot of the customers who we call crew members were pilots. We came out with the first pilot's watch designed for women, and it was a bit of a disruption because they were like, oh, you're coming out with dive watches too. Are you not gonna do any more pilot watches? And I was like, oh, no, here's Katherine. So Katherine is a stopwatch, similar to Jackie. Jackie's also a stopwatch. But the thing that we did with Katherine is we were kind of saying, okay, if Katherine and Amelia had a baby, then what would it look like? And it would look like Katherine. And the reason being is because people love the stopwatch of the Jackie and the military time feature and all those things, but they didn't want it so blinged out with the crystals that are around the bezel, because there's 64 crystals, which are Swarovski grade, or you can get about a carat of diamonds if you substitute the crystals for stones. And they didn't want the crystals. They wanted something that looked a little bit more sporty, a little bit more classy, and so that's how Katherine came about. But the most unique thing about Katherine is the alphabet around the bezel, and I'm going to go over that in a little bit more detail here in a minute. But Katherine comes in a variety of colors and different options. I am wearing two different ones, and I have two different bands that are not the standard band that would go with this. So I'll show you all the bands are completely interchangeable, so we can swap, whatever ones you want, and I'll kind of do that a little bit here. So, and the nice thing too about Katherine, and I'm gonna share this about this one, which is unfortunately our top seller of the Katherine, and it is currently sold out, but we will not be discontinuing this watch. There's a very famous, his name is Doug Gardner. He is crew chief for one of the most famous aerobatic pilots in the world right now, and this is his watch of choice. So the nice thing about a 40 millimeter size is this is a very unisex style. And a lot of men like the Katherine, especially the black, and then also the white here, the pearl white, but with a steel band. So I'm going to show that in this video. So we'll get into some of the details here. So I'm going to have my camera person, NK, drop the video down, and we're going to get into some real close details here. So let me line these guys up. So yes, Paul, men can totally wear this watch because they do already. All right, and I'm gonna move some of these stands out of the way. And if there's anything that you want me to go over, by all means, throw it in the comments and I will address it in this video. And then you can also, after this publishes, you can also ask any more questions, and I'm happy to do so. All right, how's this look? Are we pretty set?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me make sure I've got all the color choices out here. So we've got pearl white, storm, sky blue, rose sun. This is not the standard band that comes with rose sun. Royale, which I'm also wearing, and then first class, which I have here in the box. So Katherine, we're talking 40 millimeters around the case. It's a 20 millimeter band. I'm blanking right now on the thickness, but I want to say it's a 12.5. MK, you could probably grab that catalog and let me know here. But this watch is probably the most useful watch that I wear, both when I'm flying and when I'm not, and it's because of that alphabet. So I always start from the outside and work in when I describe a watch. So let's start with the outside. So you've got a 316L stainless steel case. It has, was I right about that?
13.5.
13.5, I was 1 millimeter off, so 13.5 case. So you've got a stainless steel case and band. Now, the Sapphire Crystal, you'll notice that there is a magnifying window around 6 to 7 o'clock. And it's funny because when people have ordered this watch, they said, oh, you know, the crystal's in the wrong position. It needs to go over the date like other watches do. We specifically made it so that that magnifying window goes over the ATIS for the ALPHA-Bezel. And the ALPHA-Bezel is something that is super unique to only this watch and one other watch that we helped collaborate and design with. And when I get into the ALPHA-Bezel, I'll kind of talk about how that was born. But you've got 2 push buttons on the side for the stopwatch, and then you've got 2 crowns. So the crown here at the 3 o'clock position is going to go over all your date time settings, and then the crown here is going to go over your ALPHA-Bezel. So we'll go over that in a second. So that's what that magnifying window is for. It's for the ALPHA-Bezel. So here's a Sapphire Crystal. So then let me go to this one here. The case back, you've got a screw down case back on the back, also stainless steel. One thing that I always do with any of the Abingdon watches is I do not use alloys. So we always use stainless steel, surgical grade materials because people do have allergies and we don't want anything turning green, we don't want anything reacting. Watches are very intimate and they're very personal. So we want to make sure that when you are wearing a watch, no matter what watch it is, that it's a part of you. It feels natural to you. It feels like it belongs with you. It's your best friend. It's carrying you through the day. It's helping you support your day. So that is one of the reasons why I will only ever use high quality materials. Anything that is plated is infusion process plating. It's called IP plating. So we infuse it into the steel. It becomes a part of the first layer of the steel. Anything that we use when we talk about gold is going to be a 24 karat gold plating, also infused into the metal. Nothing is just put on top. It's always brought in at least one layer below the surface. So just something to kind of keep in mind. So we've got the case back, screw down. We've got 2 crowns, 2 buttons, steel case, 40 millimeter, sapphire crystal. now getting into the watch. So if you notice, this crown here is rotating. Let me see if I can bring that a little bit closer. Hopefully there's not too much of a glare. So there you go. So you can see that the alphabet is moving. Now, why would you put an alphabet on a watch? Well, when you are a pilot and you are flying in and out of an airport, you have what's called ATIS or AWOS or ASOS. What those stand for, it's basically your weather briefing. So ATIS is the most common. ATIS is Automatic Transcribed Information Service. I may be wrong on one of those letters. Do not tell the FAA I am being a bad flight instructor at this point, because if I got wrong on one of those letters, then it's just because I'm blanking on it. But ATIS is your automatic weather briefing that you can tune into your radios, and you can listen to certain things like what the winds are, what the cloud cover is, what runway they're using, all that kind of stuff. And you have to pick up ATIS before you contact ground, if you're on the ground of the airport, to say, we're here in Las Vegas, so I'll just make a call like we're going to be departing out of McCarran at a Las Vegas airport. Las Vegas ground, November, let's see, I was just flying a citation this weekend, so citation 711 Kilo Tango has information, Charlie, request taxi to runway 26 right. And that ATIS letter that I just said, Charlie, C, is what I would rotate underneath the magnifying window as a memory aid. So, because here's the thing, when you're flying and you're about to depart, you're about to taxi, and you're about ready to call the FAA, you're about ready to call air traffic control, it's usually a few minutes while you get your airplane set up, because you're checking your engines, you're setting up your radios, you're putting in your flight plan, you're getting all of these things done while you're sitting in the cockpit or the flight deck. And it sometimes takes a few minutes for you to pick up ATIS and then call ground. And oftentimes when you're in the air flying, so let's say we're coming out from Los Angeles and we're going to be landing at McCarran, I will call for ATIS, I'll listen to the ATIS frequency, I'll rotate whatever the letter is, let's say it's information Delta now, and it will be a few minutes while I set up my descent, set up my engine for arrival, put in my navigation, load up my arrival procedure or my instrument approach or whatever I'm using to get myself safely down onto McCarran's runway. It's going to take several minutes before I call tower or before I call Las Vegas approach and tell them I've got ATIS information Delta inbound to land runway 26 right. So sometimes it's going to have a delay between when you listen to ATIS frequency and then when you are actually about to call and let the air traffic control, whether it's approach or whether it's at the airport, know that you have the information. That is probably one of the biggest things that pilots often forget, is what letter it is. Because if you think about this, right? Let's say we're departing McCarran, or departing Las Vegas, going to LA. You pick up ATIS before you depart, before you call ground for taxi and takeoff, and then you get up in the air, and then you fly to LA, and now you gotta write down, because we're gonna go into Santa Monica, and the airport that I learned how to fly in. That's also the airport I met Michael at. So Michael Blakey, if you guys know him, see me on his channel, because I know he just did a jet video, and I'll link that video as well, and it'll take you to his channel. He and I both were doing flight training out of Santa Monica Airport back in the day, like 2010. And I need to pick up the ATIS for Santa Monica before I land. So now I have two ATIS frequencies within 1 hour period, because I'm in the jet and it only takes 30 minutes to fly from Vegas to LA. It can get really confusing. And if I'm only stopping in Santa Monica for lunch, then I'm going to go down to San Diego to go see some friends that I went to college with. Then I'm going to be picking up 3 ATIS letters. So every airport has a different letter. It can get really confusing really fast. And I can tell you, you are definitely a pilot if you've forgotten ATIS. Every pilot I know has at some point forgotten the letter of the current information at an airport before they land. So this feature right here, when we were designing with a different watch, it was for a company called Shaden. They wanted to come out with a watch, and they wanted the ultimate pilot's watch, and they did not want the 360-degree bezel that a lot of aviation watches have, or a lot of outdoors watches have. And I'm kind of the same way. I don't really use the 360, the cardinal directions, but when we were coming up with trying to figure out a good idea to replace the 360 degrees, I said, well, you know, one thing I would love, and I was sitting on the couch in my condo in Long Beach having a call with the owner of Shaden, and I said, oh my gosh, Jeff, I know exactly what we're going to do when we build this Shaden aviation watch. We are going to put the alphabet around the bezel. And he's like, why would you do that? And I said, because it's going to be an ATIS reminder. And he's a pilot as well. He flies a TDM, or at least he did at the time. I'm not sure what he flies now. But that is the entire impetus for putting the alphabet around this bezel. We went through the US Patent Trade Office. It is patent pending. The Shaden watch and the Katherine watch are literally the only two watches in the world that have this feature on it. Now, if you're not a pilot, and I went through that whole thing, and you're just like, okay, I don't really care about that because I don't pick up aviation weather. Well, the best use that I have found for this was from a Coast Guard pilot. She was based in Hawaii, and she cracked me up. She was one of the very first people to get a Katherine, and we actually did a custom build with her, which I thought was really cool, where we took a storm case, we put a black leather band on it instead of the black steel band, but we combined and used a purple dial on hers because black and purple were her favorite colors. So she's the only one, and because she did a pre-order, we custom built it for her, and we can do custom builds. But she said, yeah, the ATIS feature is all really nice. I really like it. I'll use it in the air, but I don't use it as much as my party trick when I go to events. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, when I meet somebody for the very first time, I'm horrible with names. So what I do is I will rotate the first letters, like my name is Abingdon, so it's kind of a tough name for people to remember. So she would put the first letter of the person that she met underneath the watch, and being very, very coy, very, sneaky, if she ever forgot their name, she would just glance at her watch, see the first letter, and say, oh yeah, it started with an A, Abingdon. And that's what she would use it for, is a name reminder. So I thought that was a great party trick. I've actually used that now when I go to events and when I go to parties and I meet people, and there's just a lot of people that you just can't keep people straight. So it's a beautiful, beautiful trick. And I thank her every day for telling me that when she ran into us at a trade show, because that is probably one of the most useful, and that's why I said it at the beginning of this, one of the most useful watches that I have ever worn from both inside and outside the flight deck. So that is your alphabet. Now the dial, okay, I went off on that for like a super long time, so I'm not gonna talk about that anymore, I promise you. Now the dial is a genuine mother of pearl. So even on the white, it's very, very subtle. The thing I really like, I'm gonna probably, let's see if I can take this one off here. I'm just gonna end up playing with these a lot. The thing that I really like about the pearl dials, and this is just across all of our styles that use pearl dials, is just how subtle. They're not, I mean, obviously the purple is very bright, the blue is very bright, but like the black, if you didn't catch it at the right light, the storm, you wouldn't even know that it was a pearl dial. It just looks very, it's just very subtle, but it's very classy. I don't quite know how to describe it best, but it's just got a gorgeous sheen to it. So this is one of the most famous or most popular combinations with men who like the Katherine watch. And I think this is just a stunning combination. So inside you've got the pearl dial, you have superluminova coating on all of the hands and hour markings. You have two subdials and then a date. Now this is using the Miyota FS20. It's a Japanese movement. It's a 5-hand movement. What that means is you've got a second hand, you've got the hour and minute hand, and then you have the 2 subdial hands at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. The 3 o'clock subdial hand is your military time. So it is a 24-hour military, so at 1 p.m. it's 1300, at 2 p.m. it's 1400. If you have trouble with your military time, that is going to give you a reference. It is directly correlated with the hour and the minute hand. So this is not something, it's not a subdial that you can set separately. It's a subdial that will work as you set the hour and minute hand. It's also the subdial I use when I'm setting the watch for the first time, because I want to make sure that I set the hour and minute hand according to whether we're in the morning hours or the afternoon hours, which helps with my date change. I don't want the date changing at noon because the watch thinks it's at midnight. Make sense? So what I'll use is I'll use the subdial at 3 o'clock and make sure that I'm setting the watch appropriately. The hand here is for the stopwatch. It's a 60-minute counter, and you're probably looking at it thinking, okay, where's the stopwatch? Where's my second counter? That is your second hand. It's one of my favorite features about the FS20. Now, I don't know if, because this is one of our demo models, so we're gonna just see if this battery works, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna pick up a watch that does. Okay, so it does work. So the stopwatch, I'm gonna try and kind of zoom in as quickly as I can, or quickly, as close as I can without getting it blurry. You can see that the stopwatch is engaged right now. And what you're seeing is that the second hand is your counter. The reason I like this, because when I am flying or when I'm using a stopwatch function for any other, whatever else I would need, is it's the biggest hand on the watch. So it's really easy to see the second hand, or the seconds ticking. I can just take a quick glance at it. And usually when you're flying, you don't need more than a 4-minute timer if you're going in between waypoints on instrument flights. Everything is typically within 4 minutes. But so that your minute hand, though it's smaller, I'm not always using the minute hand as much as I'm using the second hand. Usually everything I use is just right there on the second hand. So, yeah, so that's that. So how do you stop it? So it was really funny. If you look at Adam's video, Adam Swords did a video. I'll link that one. He reviewed our newest watch, which has the same movement, called the Jordan. And he got super excited when he saw the stopwatch reset. And I'll show you why. He kind of, I don't know if he like squealed, but it's pretty funny. But so to reset the stopwatch, you just start and stop on the top. So now you can see that the second hand has stopped in its position. And then to reset, make sure that I am in focus here, reset on the bottom. And it resets right back up to 12. So I'll do that again. So you start it, it ticks, 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 stop it, and then on the bottom, reset. So that's how you would use the stopwatch. 60-minute timer, good to go. Let's see, what else do we have here? Pearl dial, 2 subdials, date function, 5 hands, 165 water resistance on this watch as well. So perfectly fine in the lakes, perfectly fine on the boats, perfectly fine washing your hands, doing your dishes, just, I don't know, sticking your hand in a bucket of water. Whatever you want to use, you can get this watch wet and it will be completely okay. Let's see, what else do we have? The interchangeable bands, I kind of showed you a little bit about that. I love black watches, and I really like, let me put this on here. I'm just going to show you one of my favorite. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm going to show you my favorite setup with a black watch. That right there. Definitely one of the hottest looking watches is a black watch with white indices and a white leather band. I just love this look. You'll see what I've done today is go purple with the white, and then we do also have our oil tan leather, genuine leather brown bands, which we have made in Florida, and I think they just go really, really nice. Gives a beautiful warm feeling with any of our rose gold pieces. So Rose Sun typically would come with this white band, and I'll just kind of show you how that looks as well. One thing that I also really appreciate, and I kind of explained this in a different video, but the 6 and the 12 we labeled on the back end so that you knew what side of the watch to put it on. And it's because I had a really embarrassing meeting one time with a manufacturer of bands, and I had the band on the opposite way, and they kind of called me out on it in the middle of the meeting, and I just kind of got embarrassed. So I never wanted to have anybody else ever have that happen to them. So I changed it. All right, so there we go. And so if you follow on Instagram, you saw me wearing my Katherine in sky blue with one of Biggie Smalls's blinged out Rolexes that he had. That's how the Rose Sun comes. It's a really nice watch. And I met this guy, did not actually meet Biggie Smalls and put his watch on my wrist next to my Katherine. But I met this guy who was out at, let's see, where were we? There's some big race in the Ozarks. I cannot remember what it's called, but it's like $1 million yachts. And we went and flew my buddy's jet out there, and then he has one of the boats that's in the race. So we were out hanging with him, and I met this guy who had this insanely blinged out Rolex. And if you haven't seen the post on Instagram, go to the Abingdon Co's Instagram and you'll see it there. I was like, what the heck are you wearing? And of course, I normally wear 2 watches, and I was at the time. So of course, I always notice people's watches. I guess it's a gift. I'm talking to him, and he's like, yeah, this is my daughter's inheritance or something. She's a big fan of Biggie Smalls, and it was on auction, and I figured, you know, if that's all she wants, then I'll get the watch, I'll enjoy it until I die, and then I'm just gonna pass it on to her. And I'm like, that's the most ridiculous story, but I love Notorious B.I.G. Do you mind if I wear your watch? I kind of want to see how heavy it is. And he's like, yeah, sure. So complete stranger, he takes off this like multi-million-dollar watch and gives it to me, and I put it on my wrist, and it's just like I'll just kind of show you, two purple ones, but it's just kind of like hanging off my wrist, like just super silly, super ridiculous. And he's like, yeah, this watch apparently Biggie Smalls traded in at a Mercedes dealer for a car, and it was the Mercedes dealer that had the watch forever, and they put it on auction. So that's where he got it, was on auction. So that's the story of how I got Biggie Smalls' watch on my wrist next to my Katherine. Let me see here. I've gone over the movement. I've gone over, I think it's a pretty funny story. So hope you're entertained as I am. Gone over the color choices. We will have Storm back in stock. If you have a frequent flyer one, which I don't have here, here's the 2 Rose Suns, then keep that watch. We are discontinuing that color. It's a rose gold with a pink pearl dial. That is going to be something that will be a collector's item. We're not making those anymore. So just so you know. But all of the colors that you see here are going to be continuing. So we may be, I don't think, MK, are we out of stock of any other one other than Storm?
Blue Sky.
Okay.
We're out of stock of Blue Sky.
We are out of stock of Sky. Okay. So these 2 are out of stock. Everything else is in stock. And yeah, this has been a super popular watch. But obviously, I mean, you can see why. It's just a very classic, very, I think it has a really nice sporty look. And I actually really like the watch with even a silicone band. That even makes it a little bit more active. We've gone over the Super Luminova. We've gone over the stopwatch, the movement, the crystal, the ALPHA-Bezel, the history. I think we've done it. Is there any other questions? So we could bring the camera back up. But if there is any questions, then please put them in the comments. Hey Joshua, nice to see you. Oh, Babsy, love you, girl. Yes, I'm glad this was super informative for you, as Babsy said in the comments. And technically you can wear the watch if you have a wrist. Jonathan, you're not wrong. Yeah, so yeah, that's the Katherine watch. I hope you enjoyed this video. We do have them linked. I'm going to put the links in the description so you can see where you can buy this watch if you want it. And yeah, if you have any other questions about it, always happy to be of assistance. We are probably going to be doing as well maybe a Facebook Live, and I definitely know an Instagram Live where we'll go over the same thing. We did that with Amelia. We'll do that again later today for Katherine, so you can feel free to check that out on our other social media platforms. But if you have not been on the Abingdon Co channel before, then every other every other Tuesday, we'll do a live video and I'll go over something watch related. And then every other week on Tuesdays, we'll release one of our edited videos where we go on some adventure with a crazy crew member who jumps off cliffs or does aerobatic flying or just does something super cool. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Abingdon, and if you have not clicked the subscribe yet, you know I gotta say it. Click it, hit the bell, get notified, come with us on an adventure, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.